He built cities where other people saw empty lots. Edward P. Roski Jr. is the sort of developer whose fingerprints are on neighborhoods you drive through without thinking, whose projects quietly rewire the economic geography of whole regions. He's also a decorated Marine, an art patron, a sports investor, and a philanthropist whose name now labels a major school of the arts. This is a story about how a Midwestern kid became one of America's most private and most consequential real estate billionaires. Born on December 25, 1938, in rural Oklahoma and raised in Southern California, Roski's arc is classic American boosterism filtered through a distinctly post-war West Coast ambition. He arrived at the University of Southern California to study finance and real estate, played football for the Trojans, and graduated in 1962 with a degree that read like an instruction manual for the career he would choose: build, buy, and plan on a scale larger than most people imagined possible. Those early threads, the athletic discipline, an education rooted in commerce, and an appetite for land, stitched together the blueprint for a lifetime. Before the boardrooms and master-planned business parks, Roski served in uniform. Commissioned through USC's PLC program, he was an officer in the United States Marine Corps during the 1960s and saw combat, earning 2 Purple Hearts. That experience, the leadership, the exacting standards, the refusal to accept ambiguity, is often held up by people who know him as formative in both temperament and strategy. It's hard to overstate how many developers talk about discipline. Roski actually lived it under fire. Majestic Realty did not begin with him. It began with his father, Edward P. Roski Sr., who founded the company in 1948. But Ed Jr. is the figure who took inheritance and ambition and made a private empire of it. Under his stewardship, Majestic evolved from a modest, family-run real estate business into one of the largest privately held owners and developers of master-planned business parks in the United States. Today, the company controls tens of millions of square feet of industrial, office, and mixed-use space, with holdings that stretch coast to coast. Where competitors chased flashy headlines, Roski pursued scale, low-profile ownership, and the long, patient work of land assembly. If you want to understand Roski's playbook, start with the business park. While many developers slice and sell parcels at small profit margins, Roski bought and stitched together large tracts for comprehensive planning: roads, utilities, distribution centers, and the kind of industrial and logistical ecosystems that companies rely on today. The result is predictable only in retrospect. Once a corridor or park is in place, dozens of tenants follow, infrastructure upgrades happen, and an economic gravity grows. Roski's approach isn't glamorous, it's infrastructural. It's the opposite of a one-off trophy tower. It is, in short, durable. That durability translated into wealth. Over the decades, Majestic's portfolio swelled into the tens of millions, now often reported in figures north of 80 million square feet, and Roski's status rose with it, landing him on Forbes lists and placing him among America's richest real estate billionaires. But in a market that worships shiny logos and glass facades, Roski's empire has always been substantive rather than ostentatious. Warehouses, distribution hubs, and business parks that power commerce more than they command headlines. The quietness is part of the calculation. Publicity is never the same thing as profit. Roski's ambitions did not stop at logistics. He moved into the civic and cultural life of Los Angeles in ways that made him a force beyond land. Sports ownership, arena deals, and high-stakes stadium bidding became part of his portfolio. For years, he was a part owner in major Los Angeles franchises, and he repeatedly tried to bring the NFL back to the region through bold stadium proposals. His proposals were audacious: vast multi-use complexes built on hundreds of acres, not just to house a team, but to create entire entertainment and economic districts. In the process, Roski tangled with other powerful players in the city and sparked projects and debates that reshaped the conversation about public space, private development, and who gets to decide a city's future. Those maneuvers reveal something fundamental about Roski's mindset. He thinks in systems and leverage. A stadium is not merely a place to watch a game. It is a node anchoring hotels, restaurants, retail, and transit improvements. An industrial park is not merely a cluster of warehouses, it is a logistical spine for a region's economy. Roski's instincts pushed him toward projects that promise compound effects. Critics would say his scale invites controversy, eminent domain fights, political bargaining, traffic nightmares. And those critiques are not wrong. Big projects have big externalities. But Roski's defenders argue that someone who is willing to assemble 600 acres and imagine an entire district is doing the work most developers won't do, because the payoff requires both boldness and patience. Philanthropy and patronage have long been a parallel track for Roski. With his wife, Gail Garner Roski, he made a signature donation to USC's School of Fine Arts, a $23 million gift that resulted in the school bearing the Roski name, an emblem of the couple's deep ties to the university where they met and to the arts that have become central to their public identity. Later gifts continued that pattern, including a $25 million donation tied to an eye institute and sustained support for cultural institutions across Los Angeles. Their giving isn't the spectacle of a naming rights moment alone. It's a strategic, long-term investment in institutions that shape civic life: schools, hospitals, and arts organizations. Those gestures broadcast a civic philosophy. Wealth, in Roski's view, should be a seed for institutions that outlast any single lifetime. Roski's philanthropy also intersects with his personal life and interests. Gail Garner Roski is an artist, a plein-air watercolorist, and the couple's donations to the arts read like a partnership between patron and practitioner. That intimacy matters. Their giving often reflects not only financial capital, but years of relationships with faculty, museum directors, and civic organizers. It's the sort of philanthropy that anchors an individual's legacy in the cultural infrastructure of a city. You can feel the design of it in how the Roski name appears at universities, in medical centers, and in smaller nonprofit boards where Ed sits quietly but decisively. If Roski's projects have scale, his personality is deliberately restrained. He is known as intensely private, disciplined, and famously resistant to self-promotional fanfare. Where some billionaires curate public personas, Roski's public life reads like a slow-release dossier: big projects, civic involvement, philanthropic gifts, and occasional media profiles. That reticence has political effects. It allows him to operate in a space where relationships with city officials, landowners, and lenders can be cultivated without theater. But it also means that when he does step into the light, a major stadium pitch, a headline donation, the move feels decisive and consequential. For all the empire building, Roski's story is also one of conflict and rivalry. Los Angeles, with its fragmented jurisdictions and sprawling geography, breeds competing visions. Roski's stadium schemes set him against other heavyweights, and those contests were not merely about who could spend the most money. They were debates over zoning, public incentives, and the role of private capital in shaping civic infrastructure. Sometimes Roski won more than his enemies would admit. Sometimes he lost, but still left behind new corridors of development that others picked up. The messy, contentious process of urban change, lawsuits, public hearings, and backroom deals is where Roski's strategic patience often proved decisive. He was willing to play long. Alongside commercial projects and civic skirmishes, Roski developed a side reputation as an art collector and cultural benefactor. The Roski's interest in the visual arts and their deep connections to institutions like USC positions them as part of a tradition in American philanthropy that fuses private taste with public architecture. Beyond naming rights, their support has enabled faculty recruitment, scholarships, and the expansion of programs that connect students with professional practice. For USC students and faculty, the Roski name is not just a banner. It is a resource that shapes curricula and opportunities. There is also a human dimension that makes the biography richer than a ledger of assets. Roski is a family man with children and grandchildren. He is married to a woman who is herself a visible presence in the arts, and he has, by many accounts, remained connected to the civic institutions that anchored his rise. Those personal ties help explain both his philanthropic priorities and his approach to deal-making. The level of trust a developer can command among public officials, lenders, and partners often comes down to reputation, and Roski cultivated one as a man who showed up, paid his debts, and thought in decades rather than quarters. People in the industry describe him as exacting but fair, a negotiator who expected the paperwork to match the promises. No biography of a modern developer is complete without a reckoning on the broader social effects of their work. Roski's projects have created jobs, contributed to regional tax bases, and supplied the logistics backbone for companies in an era of e-commerce and expedited delivery. But large-scale development also brings displacement, environmental concerns, and debates about public subsidies. Stadium deals in particular ignite questions about the distribution of public costs and private gains. To his supporters, Roski's projects are engines of growth. To his critics, they are examples of concentrated power shaping urban life in ways that favor capital over community. That tension between infrastructural benefits and social costs is part of the larger conversation about modern American cities, and Roski has been both a protagonist and a provocation in it. What then is Roski's legacy likely to be? In the short term, it's measurable. Acres assembled, square feet leased, dollars donated. In the longer run, his imprint is institutional. Schools named for him, parks and business districts that persist for generations, and the network of relationships that turns raw land into functioning economic systems. These are the sorts of afterlives a developer covets. His decisions, where to buy, how to plan, which civic battles to enter, have ripple effects that will outlast any single market cycle. For students walking the halls of USC's Roski School of Art and Design, the connection between patron and pedagogy will be immediate. For truck drivers routing through Majestic's distribution hubs, the Roski name is less about biography than the mundane reality of work and movement. Both are part of the same legacy. There is also a lesson in scale. The modern economy rewards platforms and nodes, places that aggregate flows of goods, people, and attention. Roski's career teaches that scale without showmanship can still be transformational. You don't have to be on magazine covers to alter the way a region functions. Sometimes you just need to be able to see the geometry of a landscape and have the patience to assemble it piece by piece. In his best moments, Roski acted like an urban geometer, calculating axes of growth, aligning transport corridors, and designing parcels so that industry could plug into them and hum. In his worst moments, when projects created objectionable externalities or intensified political fights, he revealed the old adage about power, that it is always contested. As with any life of consequence, the narrative contains contradictions. A man who once wore his marine discipline into battlefields of property law also lavished millions on cultural institutions. A developer who built distribution centers shaping global supply chains also gave money to an art school that trains students to see the world critically. Those contradictions matter because they make Roski human, a blend of ambition and taste, of boardroom strategy and earnest patronage. His story is not a parable of unalloyed villainy or saintliness. It is the complicated account of a figure whose work has materially altered cities and whose donations have materially gifted institutions. If you listen to the accounts from colleagues, city officials, and civic leaders who have worked with him, a recurring descriptor appears: builder. Not in the narrow sense of construction, but in the deeper sense of someone who conceives, organizes, and steadies complex projects into being. His life's portfolio, military service, a sprawling real estate empire, sports stakes, and philanthropic touchstones, reads like a single sentence: find the land, assemble the resources, and make something that lasts. Whether you approve of every decision he made or not, it's hard to deny the scale of his impact. At the end of the day, Edward Roski Jr. is a study in durable, low-flash power. He built infrastructure when others focused on flash. He donated to art when others donated to headlines. He played rough, private games of urban transformation that left visible marks on the landscape. Cities are, after all, the accumulation of countless such marks, some generous, some contested, and Roski's is an imprint that will be read for generations by students, commuters, company executives, and the occasional historian who wants to know how the modern Los Angeles region took its present shape. If this story has a final image, it is not a memoir or a monument, but a map. Parcels stitched together, roads fed into new hubs, stadium lights over a field that anchors shops and hotels, and a university school bearing a family name. Roski's biography is, in essence, a topographical narrative, a record of choices about where to place things. and the belief that placing them well changes everything. Whether you love the outcome or question its costs, you have to admit, he played for stakes that reshaped regions, and he did it with a discipline and a patience that are increasingly rare. If this story has a final image, it is not a memoir or a monument, but a map. Parcels stitched together, roads fed into new hubs, stadium lights over a field that anchors shops and hotels, and a university school bearing a family name. Roski's biography is in essence a topographical narrative, a record of choices about where to place things, and the belief that placing them well changes everything. Whether you love the outcome or question its costs, you have to admit, he played for stakes that reshaped regions, and he did it with a discipline and a patience that are increasingly rare.